So in last night's episode of The Gilded Age, we had some highlights and some heartbreaks. And in episode 6, we said goodbye to the Johns. Now for one John, we said goodbye for good. And for the other one, I'm hoping it's just goodbye for now. So spoiler warning, if you haven't seen episode 6 yet, go ahead and skip this video. But if you have, stick around. If you have seen episode 6 of The Gilded Age, then you'll know that we lost John Adams. I don't understand why this happened. I know we were going to get a death in the series. We hadn't had a significant one as of yet, and I still don't think this was as significant as possibly one of the other characters dying, but it still felt very purposeful, and I don't like that they chose Oscar and John Adams to do that too. Now, like I mentioned, we did lose Luke Forte in the last season, but honestly, that felt more like plot armor to drive the plot forward. I don't really understand what losing John Adams is going to do. And one of the things that I loved about this character was how true he was to himself. There was no charades, except for the instance where he tried to make Oscar jealous, but through and through, he knew exactly who he was. And I'm truly hoping that his death wasn't motivated by his sexuality unless he had like a scorned lover. But aside from that, I'm hoping that this wasn't a hate crime. I don't like that. I don't want that for this character. I really hope it was just a fluke more than anything. Still, one of the other things that I absolutely loved about John Adams was his unwavering support of Oscar. There was nothing Oscar could do wrong that would deter John Adams from his affection towards him. He believed in him so much he was willing to invest in him, not only once, but twice. On top of that, he had this level of empathy for Oscar that I don't think was common amongst that group. He loved Oscar, and I mean genuinely. Another thing that I really appreciated about John Adams was his ability to read Oscar his receipts. When Oscar was lamenting about losing all his money to Maud Beaton, it was John Adams who was like, well, hey, you're not the only one with something to lose here. Had you actually married Maud, she would have been living a lie with you because you don't like women, Oscar. Now, you might have found her attractive in person, but nah, that's not who you are. She would have been taking an L just like you did. Now, I separate this because I know there's a lot of people in the Gilded Age. There were probably a lot of lavender marriages where one party had something to benefit. I know it's been tossed around that once Mr. Winterton dies, maybe that's what's going to happen between Turner and Oscar. They can both live their great lives unbound by societal norms. Anyways, but I love John Adams for his ability to reconcile Oscar's own behavior with his own consequences without making it feel super judgmental. And he was always there for him to fall back on. Now, on an aside, it would have been nice to get more of this character beyond a plot point, much like Luke Forte was for Ada, but I digress. Now, the second character we said goodbye to last night was Jack. Now, this character's goodbye was a bit less sad than John Adams because I feel like we will definitely see him again, especially during Larry's business ventures. I'm hoping we do at least, and we're seeing him invent more and more, or at least start to tinker with more ideas. So I like the idea that we might see Jack as an elevated person or character in the next season. That would be good. But one of the things that I am really hoping for in this character is that he comes back for Bridget. Now, I know that he was crushing on the girl from across the street, the Russell's handmaid, or I guess, what is her name? I forget. But after that altercation where she tried to confront him about making the staff feel less than, I was done with her, at least in that regard. I do hope she ends up back with Gladys. I know that's something that Bertha advocated for from Hector, but honestly, I need him to go back for Bridget. I always felt like there was some underlying chemistry. Again, I could be overlooking it, but to me, these two were always so supportive of each other. Again, it reminds me a little bit of John Adams and Oscar. In this case, you have Bridget and the rest of the staff, minus Mrs. Armstrong, who's been so supportive of Jack. Despite the relatively low odds of success, they have supported him through and through and through, and they've always been happy for his wins. They've never expected anything of him, and they were always there to support him in any way that they could to make his dreams come true. And Jack hit it big, and he repaid that kindness 20-fold, to include Mrs. Armstrong, which I definitely think speaks to Jack's character, and I'm hoping he'll be like Larry, assuming Larry is honorable. I think Jack will be, but I really, really want him to go back for Bridget. I think there's something there. Hopefully we explore that in the next season or maybe later on this season, assuming Jack does return. But this gets me to Armstrong. Sometimes it really is your coworkers. I cannot stand this woman. She's bitter, and Jack was so kind. And honestly, this just shows you that not everybody around you roots for you, but they're happy to accept whatever you give them. So on another topic, I'll discuss her. Anyways, drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you thought of episode 6, and I will see you guys in my next video.